2019 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Josh Allen, defensive end, Kentucky.
And with that, the Jacksonville Jaguars got the 2019 NFL Draft underway. Josh Allen coming into Jacksonville to get it all started. Welcome into the Jaguars.com Draft Recap. JP Shadrick, Brian Sexton, John Ozier. What a class. We're going to get to them all coming up, guys.
My first reaction to that is standing in Nashville in the media center on Thursday night. When the Raiders took Clelin Ferrell, I went, okay, this is interesting. When the Giants took Daniel Jones, I said, oh. And all of a sudden, here they get a chance to get a guy that makes it an A draft. Josh Allen was not supposed to be there. No matter what they do, it's an outstanding draft because they get an elite blue chip player.
It's an outstanding draft for that reason. And as Tom Coughlin discussed extensively in meeting with the media just now, doubled that in a sense by getting what they consider a first-round pick in Jawan Taylor. So now you've got an unbelievable start, they feel like, to this draft.
They've done it in the past. They did it in 2016 when they got Jalen Ramsey and Miles Jack, and we go back to when they did it in 96 and got Kevin Hardy and Tony Brackens. There have been times when they've come away with two guys they thought were first-round talents. They did it right here.
All right, let's hear from the boss, Tom Coughlin with Ashlyn Sullivan.
Here with Jaguars Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Tom Coughlin, through 7 rounds of the draft. How did this team improve, and what are your overall thoughts of the draft class?
Well, I think the interesting thing was the beginning of the draft, you know, when Josh Allen fell to us. But the critical factor was being able to trade up and get the big tackle that we wanted, Jawan Taylor out of Florida. So that was huge because as we looked at it, 2 first-rounders, obviously, but people we had graded right in the top of the draft, and we had an opportunity to get them both. And the tight end and so on and so forth. But the beginning of the draft, I think, set it up for us to be a very good draft.
Everyone seemed to be so surprised that Josh Allen was sitting there at 7. When he was sitting there and you were in the draft room, was it an automatic reaction, we got to get this guy?
Well, there wasn't any doubt. When it came to the Giants and what the Giants were going to go through, they were either pass rusher or quarterback. And we talked about both sides of that. Who would we take if they took Allen and so on and so forth. But the idea of having him sit there and know that the possibility exists, we all knew that based on our board and the way we had put it all together, he was the highest rated player on the board.
Offensively, some things needed to get done during free agency in the draft. Where do you think the offense stands as of now going into the season?
Well, be able to, with the ability to have a tight end, with the ability to have a tackle, we picked up a running back. You know, we did some things along those lines as well. I think that we've improved the offensive side of the ball, and with a tight end that has demonstrated the ability to catch the ball and run after the catch and that type of things, and then with a guy that can compete for a starting job at the right tackle position, I think we've improved.
Now, sadly, you don't get to go home and take a nap. It's only the beginning of unrestricted free agency. What else needs to get done?
The college free agency is, well, our numbers are such that we need to fill our roster with a lot of these young people, which is a good thing in a lot of ways. But there's a lot of work to be done because once the draft is over, the whole league is competing for these same guys. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, thank you, Coach. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Ashlyn Sullivan with Tom Coughlin there. We appreciate his time. Let's get right to it. Josh Allen, the edge rusher from Kentucky, 6'5", 262, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. Fantastic defensive player. Fell to the Jaguars at number 7 overall. We saw him walking out. We saw the introduction by Roger Goodell of the draft pick. And not long after that, he caught up with Brian Sexton in Nashville.
Man, I'm trying to help those guys out. You know, the whole defensive line, the whole defense is dynamic. They can move around. They are so aggressive too. Man, the DBs, I got great DBs. They allow us to hunt. You know what I mean? So right now I'm so excited, man. It's a perfect fit for me and my family. And man, I just can't get ready. I'm ready to work.
All right, there you have it. First impression there. I feel like he's going to fit in pretty well with this group.
My first impression was he's as big as Tony Brackens. He's 6'5". He's 265. I mean, Yannick Ngakoue, this team's speed rusher, is 235, 240 pounds. Now you've got 265 pounds. So he isn't unique. He's not Calais. He's somewhere in between. And he is an explosive cat now. 33 and 5/8 inch arms. Really, really long arms, which is it's a key because it allows you to be disruptive when you're swinging towards that football.
Now, what you told me off the air, you did talk him out of the jacket, and like that's yours now.
Yeah, I'll wear it on drive time
because that would be ideal on you. I don't think it was even close. Once he was there at 7, they liked Hawkinson. I know there's fans out there who wanted them to take the tight end and say, why not the dynamic player? Value of edge rusher, despite tight end being more important these days, the value of edge rusher, if you think this guy's elite, and remember, he's maybe a touch below Bosa as the second best edge rusher in what is considered one of the best edge rusher classes of the last 10 or 15 years. This guy has a chance to be, I was asked over the weekend, can he be as good as Ngakoue? He's supposed to be better than Ngakoue.
Yeah.
He's a top 7 pick who has the size that maybe Unique doesn't have. This guy should be prototype, and he should be elite for a long time.
And he'll make Ngakoue good. I mean, he'll make Ngakoue really good this year because he's a guy that people will have to focus on the other side.
Yep.
And we know that when Calais Campbell is taking the attention up, they can't stop both of those guys. To have this guy rotating in, they'll all be fresh. It'll be exciting to watch this pass rush again.
That was a Thursday to remember, of course, for this Jaguars team. Then it was on to Friday, and things just continued to build for this Jaguars team. Jawan Taylor, the tackle from Florida, got the word from Dave Caldwell.
Hello.
There's Jawan there.
Hey, how you doing?
Is Ahmed yelling for you?
Man, thank you so much, man. My family going crazy.
There's the phone call. There's the reaction. Jawan Taylor, the big tackle from Florida, is coming to Jacksonville. Many people had him projected as a first-round pick for the Jaguars. The Jags had to make some moves in the draft, a trade to move up a few spots. They do get him in the second round, and what a steal this is.
And, Brian, I've gotten emails, an unusual number of people asking, why did the Jaguars trade up? Why do they, quote-unquote, waste their draft equity going after guys? And I look at it a different way. You gather draft equity, you gather later picks, much like they did today with the Seattle pick.
Yeah, they
getting
used
the
that
6th
Oakland
round.
pick to be able to vault into next year's draft in the 6th.
They wanted this guy.
Yes.
They didn't want to wait 3 picks and get a guy in the second round. This was the person that they wanted to make them feel like they got 2 first-round picks. I don't know if they'd have thought that way had it been somebody else.
You know, these guys, there's a tremendous amount of information that's out there in a vein that we don't have access to, the scouts and coaches that talk amongst themselves. They knew that the run was about to start on big guys because right after that, Greg Little went to Carolina and Cody Ford went to Arizona. So they knew where the sweet spot was, and they didn't want to let this guy pass. Now, people said to me, why did he slide? Well, he's a right tackle. He's not a left tackle. And you saw that the first left tackle, which is the premium position, went off the board at 11 in Jonah Williams. So he was going to slide. People in Nashville were talking about where he fit, and they thought he fit somewhere between 13 and 20. Okay, well, he's a little bit further than that one. Good for the Jaguars to go and get him. I spent time with him on Wednesday morning. Broad shoulders, long arms, big hands. He's got that prototypical right tackle body. I can't wait to see what they do with him.
In my understanding, JP, there's no issue with the knee.
Correct.
He didn't run in the offseason because of a hamstring issue. Right. He didn't run his pro day. It's been a topic. The meniscus with 2017, most guys come in with some sort of knee issue in this league. It's a violent game. I don't think that they have any problem with him physically. And again, they didn't want a right tackle in the second round. They wanted this one, and they wanted to go up and get it. I don't think they gave up too much to get.
Yeah, they think it's a clean bill of health for Jawan Taylor, and that's good news for the Jaguars.
One more thing. Yeah. He's a right tackle with a bad attitude on the football field. I mean, he wants to drive guys into the ground. If you watch the way that he played getting to the second level, he's got good footwork for a big guy, and he finishes his blocks. That's exactly what you want with a powerful running game with Leonard Fournette. And we'll see what the 5th-round pick, Raquel?
Yeah,
Armstead can do behind a big guy like that.
Let's go to the 3rd round, 69th overall. Josh Oliver, tight end from San Jose State, comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've been trying to figure out this position for a few years around here in free agency. They go to the draft to do it. Ashlyn Sullivan caught up with John DeFilippo, a happy offensive coordinator.
It's huge. Josh is a great athlete. He's a big guy who can go up and make plays. He can make a play on the football. He's lined up in a bunch of different spots. And, you know, I know his college coach very well. I coached with him at San Jose State, and they love him there, and they're very happy he's a Jaguar.
John DeFilippo obviously has experience with Nick Foles, and Nick Foles has experience with tight ends in an offense, and they feel this could be a really good catch here.
Well, he's a big guy. He's 6'5", and he's got long arms, and he seems light on his feet. Here's the thing. There aren't a lot of college tight ends that catch 55 balls, right? And I know he plays in the Mountain West Conference, and that's not quite Southeastern Conference football. But this was the main target at San Jose State. In fact, people that I talk to say that when you watch the Spartans games, you find that the coverage is always tilted towards him, and he made plays in traffic, up the seam, courageous guy in the middle of the field. He's not a blocking tight end, right? That was why T.J. Hawkinson was so valued where he was picked in the top 10, because he was the complete tight end. There aren't many of those guys. They think this is a guy that can help them in the passing game right away, and down the road, he can be a blocker.
Well, he also played in a tough situation. They won, I think, one game when he was a senior, and he played with a bunch of different quarterbacks. So he comes in without having played in the best situation. When Tom was talking just now, he mentioned this has been an area they've talked about for a long time, tried to address. When they deal with personnel in the NFL, you can't get to everything every year.
Not possible.
This sounds like they've known tight ends an issue. They've tried to patchwork it. You did it with Austin Sperry-Jenkins on a 2-year deal last year that felt very temporary from the start. At some point, they finally go do it. As we talked about last night, Brian, third round is a big pick for the tight end position. It's not number 10 overall, but it is a commitment to this position. He's supposed to be the best tight end they've drafted since Mercedes Lewis.
Well, and since you bring up Lewis, Lewis came in as a guy who caught a lot of balls, as more of a receiving tight end at UCLA, and he evolved into a good blocker because of one reason. He was a willing blocker. They say that Josh Oliver is too. We'll see if they can get him up to speed.
We'll find out. The Jags did have another third-round pick, this time 98th overall, and they stumped the NFL Network truck with the pick of Quincy Williams from Murray State, a linebacker with an FCS background. He's the brother of Quinnen Williams. And Dave Caldwell heard a little reaction from his colleagues around the league.
A couple of personnel directors in the league, a couple of GMs are like, it's funny, the people that don't do the work on it, I think it's, they judge before they even know the kid or look at the tape, and it's like, hey, put the tape on. Look at the kid, look at the character, look at the measurables. I can't help it that you guys didn't do your homework.
When you finally found the video of him, though, he can run, he can hit, he can play football.
The only person outside of the scouting room that I knew that knew anything about him was you, because you knew he was from the west side of the tracks in Birmingham,
That's right. Yeah.
I talked to a scout last night who said when you meet him, ask him about his swimming career. It is apparent that this guy was on his way to a junior Olympic kind of swimming career, which tells you he's a heck of an athlete. I saw the tape this morning, run and hit. I saw Ian Rappaport's tweet that the Falcons were trying to get up to get him. I didn't know much about the guy either, but I'm interested to watch him.
I've been amazed today. People asking about the scouting process. Yeah, it's not like this guy was from like Guam. I mean, he was from Kentucky.
Who's the area scout
played,
for Guam?
Right.
Is that Marty?
He played at Murray State. They're aware of these guys, and just because a guy doesn't go to the combine, and just because everybody hasn't heard him, he visited, I think it was 10 or 11 teams. All these guys are on the radar. There's 250 guys these scouts know who didn't get drafted that the scouts know all about. This kid wasn't a mystery except to the talking heads, except to us, because you don't have time to study every guy. There's no reason in the world. I get the small school thing, okay? Everybody's worried about small school I haven't heard of. Rashad Green and Michael Bennett. Remember those guys?
Yes, we do.
Remember how everybody was excited because they fell, because they had heard of them. They went to Ohio State. They were from Big Ten schools. They were from the ACC. The size of school, once you get down to this point, it just doesn't matter. Just because you've heard of them shouldn't affect your draft grade. This kid's got just as good a chance of making it as any 3rd to 5th round pick.
Well, here's the flip side of that. Darius Leonard, the linebacker from South Carolina State,
Yes.
who's a little bit bigger, but was a 2nd-round pick from a small school, had a huge impact. Probably should have been a Pro Bowl player for the Colts last year. Those guys are out there. Time will tell whether this kid is one of those players. But the fact that they took him in the 3rd round tells you he's got a chance.
I think Darius Leonard was from Guam.
He might have been. He was a first-team All-Pro, though, after 1 year in the league. Now, on to Saturday. The Jaguars entered the day with 4 selections. They come away with 3 players, starting in the running back room. Raquel Armstead from Temple goes in the 5th round, 140th overall, first-team American Athletic Conference a year ago. a scoring machine for the Owls in Philadelphia, 34 career rushing touchdowns in 46 games in Philly. In round 6, 178th overall, quarterback Gardner Minshew, the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year, finished 5th in Heisman Trophy voting a year ago, 4,800 yards nearly in Pullman with 38 touchdowns. He's from Mississippi. He had a long road to get to Pullman, Washington. We'll break that down coming up. And in the 7th round, 235th overall, Dontavius Russell, the big nose tackle from Auburn. He told Tom Coughlin on the phone that he's 325 pounds currently. We'll see where he is when he gets here. Started all 13 games for Auburn last year. Another nose tackle for the Jags. Those are the 3 names today. They traded out of the other 7th round pick to gain a 6th round pick in next year's draft. And there you see the entire draft class for 2019. The big name today, though, is the quarterback. Gardner Minshew, huge numbers in his 1 year in Pullman with Washington State. And here comes a crowded quarterback room now, guys.
Well, it's a crowded room, and it's got 5 right now. When Doug Marrone was asked about that a few minutes ago, he said it's a challenge. And it's obviously a challenge. I think it's a challenge that they'll deal with by making it a 4-person quarterback room. Minshew makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons we talked about earlier today, Brian. He's a smart guy. I'm not sure in 25 years doing this I've heard a late-round quarterback whose acumen, whose ability to adapt and whose football IQ is as praised as this guy.
Well, Mark Ellens, who's the Jaguars director of college scouting, came down to the media room and really was waxed effusive about this kid and that. And then I dug around a little bit talking to some guys in the building here this afternoon. They said, no, that this kid's smart enough to be the backup quarterback this year. Now, whether he wins that or not, his intellect, his ability to take the information and process it quickly and then take it to the field, they said is incredibly impressive. And when you look what he did, going from East Carolina as a graduate transfer to Washington State, not knowing whether he was going to start, and then he takes a complex offense like Mike Leach's air raid and really thrives in it in 1 year. Tremendous intellect. We'll see if that equates or not. But they are really excited about him.
JP's still mad he turned down the coaching gig at Bama. But, I mean,
it's okay.
Other than that,
I think they're going to get by in Tuscaloosa.
They got to stay.
They're going to be okay. Quick final thoughts here. Did they fill all the needs they had coming in? Are they happy right now?
I think they are. I mean, you can't address it all. Safety is kind of the big matzo ball hanging out there, because second deep guy on that spot. Right now, it's Cody Davis and Revis.
Yes.
I know they like those guys, but I've got to think that undrafted free agency is going to be heavy there. I also think with safety, though, it's a position where if you're nervous about it, you can get it after this round of cuts. There's a round of cuts after the draft where some veteran guys go. You can get 5th and 6th year veteran guy in even later in the preseason. That's not an unaddressable position in terms of getting a guy who can play for you.
If your pass rush is back to where it was in 2017, which is to say near the top of the league with 55 sacks, impactful sacks, Ngakoue strip sack, touchdown kind of sacks, you won't feel the position.
Right, you can't have an all-pro at every position.
You can't. You needed to clear up the room. Here's my thought on the overall draft class. The first 2 picks make it an A draft. Maybe an A+ if both of them come in and start this year. Or starting for Josh Allen play a heavy role. If they get production out of the tight end, which they seem to think they're going to, they better hope they do because they didn't address it in a serious way other than him in this draft. Then it's an A+. And whatever they get out of Williams, and I would think that he has the look of at least a special team standout because we know what DJ Chark was last year.
Correct.
Then it's an A+ draft.
Yeah, to speak to that.
Don't forget today's guys, but if those other guys, if the first 3 and then the 4th all contribute, then it's an A+.
Well, if the top 2 or 3 contribute. 2016, I'm not sure anybody's left except Ngakoue, Jack, and Ramsey. A+.
Yeah, that'll work, those guys. Well done, guys, throughout the weekend here. Well done in Nashville, too, Brian. Our thanks to Ashton Sullivan. Our entire crew behind the scenes did a fantastic job the last 3 days here. We're going to leave you with Josh Allen making his way through the building, the first-round draft pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The 2019 draft class is complete for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Thank you for watching on Jaguars.com.
With the 7th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Josh Allen, defensive end, Kentucky.
That's a smart pick. Take the best player available. I think this this is great value where they found him. I thought the third best player in the draft.
Oh, feels like home. Oh man, this is it. Yeah. Good to see you. Yes, sir. We talked about it for a while, man.
How you doing? Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
That was a great conversation. We said, it's not going to happen, right?
I know.
We said, we ain't going to ever make it to us
God's
number 7.
plan, huh?
That's exactly right.
God's plan.
Congratulations.
No, it's been a whirlwind, so kind of enjoy it while you can, and back to work.
Man, I'm
See you
ready.
In a couple weeks.
I'm ready. There he is. Yes, sir.
Cleans up nice.
What's up, big bro?
Dreams coming true, man.
Man, tell me about it. I'm excited.
I was surprised, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, because I'm a fan and I follow everything, you know, and there was no chance you're dropping, you know, in my mind. You know, it's like, okay, you're going to 7 for us, right on that. Let's go ahead and do it then. Why not?
You want to talk? He's the reason why I play so hard, and he's the reason why I go to work every day. You know, I'm about to be a part of an organization that loves what I do. You know what I mean? I came in the airport, like I told y'all, it said Saxonville. You know, if y'all call that, y'all need to get Saxon. I feel like I'm the best I did it this year. Plus, the defense here is crazy. You know what I mean? They have swag, they have veterans, they have young talent, and I'm willing to be a part of that and make my peers better. I'm glad they took a chance on me, and I'm ready to get to work.